tough schedule. We need to push hard. This kind of sci-fi is tough on a low budget. I think maybe because... And this was no exception.
One more, guys, let's go again.
Making Airlock was one of the most difficult experiences I've ever had in my career. It was just about working within the constraints and trying to make our small sets feel new and different every time.
This corridor is actually standing in for 50 different corridors. You could be facing this way, or you could be facing that way.
What grounded us were the actors.
The story is sort of loosely focused on our characters having to investigate a very mysterious ship docked illegally on our station. As we investigate further, we actually come across a group of refugees. And Jonah is faced with a bit of a conflict.
And he's been raised by foster parents who have kind of schlepped him around from one station to the next, so he's had a very transitory existence.
The story explores issues of society and the way it treats humans who are deemed as, second-class citizens.
I feel that science fiction works at its best when it's got a little bit of social commentary going on. You use this constructed world as a bit of a sandbox to explore issues that otherwise might be a little bit sort of hot-button topics.
What was the lie they sold you before you traded everything you had? Let me guess. Hope? Hope?
Now there's a notion I'm finding increasingly unnecessary.
In many ways, it's an analogy of us as Australians and how we deal with this notion of keeping people on the outside.
There's a lot of elements that about the story that are global and relate to every day.
And I was compelled by Enzo's idea to take that into the far future and to use, much in the way that District 9 has, science fiction as a way to create analogy.
We're done hiding.
When we set out to cast Airlock, I had a conversation with Mark Fermi that I really wanted to make a conscious effort to cast as ethnically diverse as humanly possible. Mark brought up the idea of Mark Cole-Smith,
and he brought a soul and a spirituality to it that I think is very, very unique.
I'm not gonna hurt you. What's your name?
Those are themes that I was really interested in being a part of. I think it's something that's going to become very relevant in the next 100 years.
Refugees struggle to even feed themselves.
Hi there. People love to be swept away by her stories because they can relate to them.
Dimmy represents a sense of desperation. I mean, if you've been isolated and you've been a nomad for long enough, you develop a tough exterior and a survivalist instinct.
You should have stayed where you were.
My ancestors died in the Great War for people like you. Their descendants slaved for generations to fuel your progress. You tell me, Captain Ashbrook, what would you do to make sure your family was fed?
So there's something classic about his look.
We need to lead the way so that others may follow.
He's leading a group of refugees in hope for redemption, hope for a better world, better home.
They're almost two facets of the same character, right? Their origins are very similar, but they've had very, very different upbringings. It was tough, but we had an army that were just a passionate and amazingly talented team of cast and crew. Nothing was too much. It was amazing. You're telling them that it's time for them to probably go home soon or take a break or whatever, and they're going, no, we'll keep going. It's okay. They're telling you that they need to do more, as opposed to the other way around. It's rare to find people that will rally behind you that much.
Don't tell Rachel.
We've got interesting characters, a huge universe that we've built that we can continue to build on, and that's exciting.
I think that we're going to get a glimpse into a really powerful, gritty, futuristic sort of world, peppered with some really interesting characters that's exploring some really relevant sort of themes, which is what all good sci-fi should do, I think. And this one's doing that.